So a lot of you are asking me if you could have a relationship when you're in recovery from a gambling addiction, or how were things at the end of your active gambling addiction while you had a girlfriend. So I thought rather than just try to take a guess at it, I would actually just bring Shreya on and we could ask her a couple questions that people have been asking in the comments about relationships and addiction. So for those that don't know, my name's Rob and I'm a recovering compulsive gambler. I made my last bet over a year ago on November the 12th of 2022. And we started dating on
October 19th, 2022.
So we started dating right at the tail end of my gambling addiction, and so she wasn't around for all of the bad parts of the addiction, but we can talk about what you were around for. So, Shreya, tell everyone now a little bit about yourself before we dive into it.
Okay. Hi. My name is Shreya. I am 24. I live in Philadelphia.
And that'll do it. That'll be
Okay.
good. All right. So basically, a lot of the questions were about, is it good to tell the person that you're dating if you have a problem, or should it be something that, not that you hide, but that you wait to tell someone? So I don't know, when did I tell you that I had a gambling problem?
Like the first day we met.
Yeah, it was probably back in like early 2022, probably like March or so. So it was like
March-ish,
right
yeah.
away. And, what were your initial thoughts when you heard that?
To be honest, like not great. like, like gamblers, like gambling your money away. It's like just not something that's guaranteed. Like what I'm trying to say is like hearing somebody is actively gambling their money away is kind of showing me that their money isn't secure, and it's not really something that I would do myself.
Fair enough. I mean, you're not wrong. So I think that one thing that is hard for people who aren't a gambling addict to understand is the thought process that goes into it. And that's something that, as much as you can communicate it to someone, they may not always understand. But she's totally right. I mean, I wouldn't want to be dating me if I was still active in it either, because I was just spending all my money gambling and not caring about literally anything else. So that is probably the initial thought that a lot of people will have. There's some wariness to it. There's a bit of confusion about it as well. Like, why would you be spending all this money gambling? Doesn't make all that much sense as an outsider, but it's something that we have to understand. So I told her right away. I don't think it was like the first day. It was probably like pretty early on though. And the reason that I did that is because, once you say something out loud, it takes a lot of the power away from it, and then you can kind of come to a solution. And I mean, if you're someone who's going to keep gambling, I don't know, like if it would be a great conversation to say, hey, I'm a gambling addict and I'm going to the casino tonight. Like, I don't think that would resonate well. But I think that if you find the right person and you tell them the truth and that you're trying to get better, they can probably see that. Have you seen me improve or get any better in the time that we've been together?
Yeah, that's what I liked is that when I met you, you told me you had a gambling problem, but you were actively getting help and going to those groups. And when I saw that you were actually taking action to try to help yourself and be better, that's what I really found attractive. And that's what I really liked.
When you hear gambling addict as someone who's a non-gambler, like what are the thoughts that initially go through your head? Could you give me like maybe the first thing that you would think?
Unstable, not secure financially.
And before you met me, did you feel like what was like your interpretation of who would be addicted to gambling? Did you think it was going to be younger people, older people, like the mob, or like what did you think gambling addiction actually looked like?
I haven't really met somebody who was addicted to gambling until I met you. So my interpretation was always people like at a slot machine who's typically older, just like pressing the button 100 times, and then people like in casinos. I didn't even know sports betting was a thing until I met you, actually. But definitely the older age groups for sure.
And I think that's the general interpretation right now about gambling addiction. But as we're putting this out on YouTube, I mean, it's reaching a younger audience every single day. And that's not to say it still doesn't affect an older generation, but there's going to be a lot of conversations like the one that we had to have, especially with people who are newer to dating or kind of younger and thinking about, like, should I actually try to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend for the first time? And they're constantly worried about the slot machines or sports betting, and it's going to create this cloud. I mean, when I was really active in my addiction, I didn't think about anything else but gambling. And I mean, now being a year clean, I don't think about much except making these videos, I guess, but it's a much different perspective than before. So I think that if I was to give some advice to someone who's looking to start dating, is to be honest, be open in the beginning, but don't rush into things if you're not ready, because the other person's going to suffer the consequences. And if you try to jump into a relationship and you're just constantly thinking about gambling, you're using all your money to gamble, you're going to have a very difficult conversation in front of you. And that's the truth. So unfortunately, we don't have that perspective really to give you today, because I was gambling for what, like 3 weeks before, like when we started dating, like 3
maybe
weeks.
3-4 weeks, not too long.
Yeah, so it wasn't too much of a sample size there. But you know, do you have any advice for someone who is thinking about getting into a relationship with someone who's in recovery? So say someone is dating someone, say it's been a couple months, and then they find out that they're addicted to gambling, their boyfriend or girlfriend's addicted to gambling. What do you say to them? Like, what's kind of the perspective they should take?
For someone who's taking in the information, I think it's important to hear them out and listen to what they're telling you. And instead of being like immediately going, oh, what are you talking about? Like, that's crazy. I hate that. I think you should respect the fact that they feel comfortable enough to actually be opening up to you in the first place about a problem that they're having in their life, and support them through that journey of recovery.
I will throw a note in that when I started dating Shreya, like there was no financial consequences onto her. So if you're dating someone and say they like just ripped your whole bank account on a sports bet, you're going to have a much different perspective than what she had just said there. So in that case, I mean, not that I have the experience myself, but what I would tell you to do is absolutely start by protecting yourself and then try to rebuild the situation, because you don't want it to keep happening. But if they're actively trying to make it happen less, then I say give them the initial trust and hope that they can improve, because as I've shown you and as many people out there have shown you, you certainly can improve and can live a happier and healthier life. But I understand if you're pissed off because, you know, someone just lied to you or spent all your money, and that's a very bad situation. So you want to make sure that that's not happening again. Take some steps to, you know, manage your own finances, not have the person have access to a group finance account, whatever it might be. But not to lash out at them or take it out on them. They will, if they don't improve, then that's on them. But if they're trying to improve, I say always give people the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, different perspective. Let's see. Another question that we got often in the comments was, can having a relationship help in the recovery process? Can it make you be better at staying away from gambling? And honestly, I'm going to tell you no. Like, in one way, yes, but in another way, no. And here's what I think. So the idea that having someone else to like shift the blame onto and say like, oh, I can't gamble because of Shreya, that would be bad. That would create animosity between you, and that would actually harm your recovery, even if it feels like a valid reason in the beginning. But to the same extent, when you're in the process of trying to quit something, you do have to find someone else or something else to put your time into. And I mean, I would tell everyone how much time we spend together. A lot. And it's a good thing. But let's how many days we've been hanging out so far in a row? 9.
Yeah, I think so.
And she's not even sick of me. So I think that, you know, just in wrapping up, what do you think about using a relationship to make the process easier? What's your opinion on that? If you found out that part of our relationship was that it was helping me stay away from gambling, what kind of emotions would you feel?
I would probably feel a lot of pressure.
That's exactly the whole point. Like, you can't really throw it onto someone else. If you want to recover from a gambling problem, it has to be you. If you're using someone else to do it, of course they're going to feel pressured. It's a ridiculous situation to throw someone in, especially if they don't even gamble. Because Shreya, do you gamble?
No, I don't.
So if you're just lacking the understanding of what the addiction actually is, yet you're solely responsible or mainly responsible for keeping someone else away that is addicted, that's way too much pressure. And so I wouldn't want to put you in that situation. Luckily I didn't, but to anyone that's watching this and thinking like, maybe if I had a girlfriend or a boyfriend this would be easier, it's a yes and no type question, because you could really end up screwing up another person in the process of trying to fix yourself, and then you're both screwed up. So we don't want that. But let's end it on a more positive note. We've been dating for over a year now. Things have been going really well. And if I was still active in my gambling, I know for a fact that it wouldn't be working out like this. We would have been fighting. I would have been more irritable. Not that we don't fight, like we still bicker and whatnot, but it would have been just constant, and it would have been a relationship that I wouldn't have wanted to be in. I can't imagine that you would have wanted to be in that kind of relationship either, where my mood is dependent on something that's fully out of my control.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to thank Shrey for coming on and answering a couple questions. If you have any more questions about dating and relationships during a gambling addiction or addiction recovery, please drop them down below in the comments. Do you have any final words for the people?
No.
You heard it here, folks. Let us know. And I know that we can keep living a happier and healthier life one day at a time.